Welcome back. We're to the cooking segment of Smidgen, the Smidgen podcast, and we're here in the Red Stick Spice Company teaching kitchen, and we're here with Cameron. Cameron, at the ripe old age of 15, has been working for me for 3 years.
3 years.
So let's just everybody calm down. Before the great state of Louisiana said that he could be employed by me, which was 14 years old, he was a volunteer with his mother's full supervision, his mother being here most all of the time. So let's just clear that up. If anybody was getting ready to write that email, it's all good.
All legal.
Yeah, thanks, Cameron. But this has been really interesting having you here with me because it was a little bit of a tough sell for your mom to convince me for you to work here. I was like, tell me why a 12-year-old should work here. And then
Honestly, yeah.
you started cooking and it was like, what? So you're easily one of the most proficient cooks that I know that works here at Red Stick Spice for sure.
Thank you.
You're welcome. And I think that's so cool that you've known for a long time that culinary is where you want to be, right?
In a hot minute.
Yeah. So tell me, I love the story about when it first clicked for you. You were sitting crisscross applesauce in your living room watching who?
Rachel Ray. Yes, Bright Orange Kitchen.
Yeah. And you just knew at that point, I want that job.
Yeah.
So way long before your time, I had a similar experience, but it was with Julia Child. That was really the only food TV back in the day. And I watched her and I always wanted to be like that. So I guess in that sense, we're the same.
The same.
Yeah. All right. So we're talking about Instant Pots. So I want to get the rice going so that it can be doing its thing. And then we're going to talk a little bit about the Instant Pot because you're in almost all of our cooking classes. You help out with the classes. And you are often we teach Instant Pot cooking classes, which that was a tough sell for me. Like, what is that going to look like? Us watching a timer, but we'll get to that in a second. First, let's get the rice going. So I've got this Instant Pot, and it says hot. And so I've got it on the saute mode on high. And what I'm going to do is have you drizzle in some garlic extra virgin olive oil, and I'm going to add in the raw rice. So this is Louisiana. I'm using popcorn rice, which is a super aromatic rice. And I've got raw rice going into the Instant Pot with the garlic extra virgin olive oil. And then what we're going to do is add some flavor. So if we were in an old school classic kitchen like the Ritz-Carlton or some banquet hall, we would be sauteing this raw rice with fresh aromatics like onions, celery. You've heard me talk about this a billion times because we teach it in every class. So let's get the flavor in first. Let's get a tablespoon of Sariette in. I've put a teaspoon in there for you. So
make it extra difficult. Got it.
Yep.
Math.
So
1, 2, 3.
Teachable moment. 3 teaspoons of Sariette. So Sariette is our spice blend that we created as one of our many all-purpose blends. So Sariette is all the good stuff: onion, garlic, and shallot. But on top of that, it's not just the good stuff, it's all roasted. So when those onions roast or when that garlic roasts, the sweetness comes up and makes it super flavorful, very rich in umami, right? Mm-hmm. So this is a great all-purpose blend for those times when maybe you can't chop an onion for time reasons or don't have an onion. We just want to make sure we get fat and flavor onto and into this raw grain. So I'm sauteing the raw grain, and tell everyone what I say in nearly every cooking class. We're not looking to brown the grain.
You're not looking to brown it or anything like that. You're really just waiting for the kind of nutty aromatic smell to come through. And this step just kind of makes the rice taste like rice.
Yeah, and it gives it great flavor. It's nearly impossible to get flavor into a grain of rice after it's cooked. If you've forgotten the salt in your cooking water, then it's going to be super bland, and there's not a whole lot you can do other than pour a whole lot of gravy on it. But making grains flavorful like this is called the pilaf method in classic cooking. Doesn't really matter, but the pilaf method, and it just opens up the cell walls. It lets some of that fat in, it lets some flavor in, And what you get at the end is a super flavorful grain that could be eaten on its own. It's so delicious. So we've got that sauteed around. I can smell a little bit of nuttiness, but like Cameron said, we're not looking to brown it or pop it or anything like that. So now, super cool thing about the Instant Pot and rice is that rice is typically a 2-to-1 ratio, 2 parts liquid to 1 part rice, but in Instant Pot it's equal. So I've got a 1.5 cups of rice, and we're gonna go in with this 1.5 cups of vegetable stock. So you can go ahead and pour that in, and we're probably gonna get a good sizzle. That is a very good podcast sound you just made.
I agree.
So, thank you. All right, so we've got that moved around, and now I'm gonna press cancel and come away from the saute mode. So I'm gonna say cancel, and I'm gonna go to pressure cook, and we're gonna pressure cook this guy for a whole whopping 4 minutes. Crazy town, right?
Sounds good. Better than
So
normal.
I have got to knock that down to 4 minutes, and I will here very soon work this Instant Pot correctly. So let's talk about my many famous Instant Pot moments in cooking classes. Surely
Make sure it's on 4 minutes.
it's on 4 minutes instead of
Hours.
4 hours. That was one that I did. But you know what, in the end, it was fine.
Just saying. We just got the other
was-
Instant Pot out.
It was just fine. But it was definitely on 4 hours instead of 4 minutes. I've also had an entire demo where the room is full of people and they're all looking at me and I'm demoing the food and the Instant Pot is next to me and it reads the entire time, burn. So that was interesting, and I can see them all looking at it and they don't quite know what to say. And finally, a friend of mine who was in the audience said, I think something's happening in the Instant Pot. It says burn. But in the end, it was actually all fine. Because the Instant Pot, let me start it first. So I've got 4 minutes. I'm on high pressure. And I'm going to say start. And so it's not exactly 4 minutes. It's going to take some time to come up the pressure. It's going to beep when it's at pressure. And then it's going to be at high pressure for 4 minutes. It's going to beep again. And at the end of that 4 minutes, you either allow it to naturally reduce the pressure or you hit the button and all the pressure releases. So we're actually going to manually release at the end of 4 minutes. So yeah, 4 minutes and we will have rice. So I'm going to push this one back and then we've got to do some cut chop because we are making today a Louisiana classic, red beans and rice. So we are going to take dried beans and put them in the Instant Pot, and 30 minutes later, again, mind blown, 30 minutes later, we have this beautiful pot of creamy red beans that is that Monday, classic Monday supper that I grew up with. So let's chop our aromatics while we talk more about the Instant Pot because, as I said, I was a little late to the game, I guess.
Yeah.
All right, so I'm going to get you on this bell pepper.
Okay.
So we need half a bell pepper. And we want it a nice small dice where we're not seeing gigantic pieces of bell pepper in the red beans. And I know you're completely capable of that, so I need to say no more. So half of that bell pepper. And I'm going to tackle the celery because we've got to get these aromatics sauteing in here. So I'm flattening out my celery. So one of our instructors that instructs here, Lily, she teaches quite a few classes here, and she kept talking to me about an Instant Pot for class, like we've really got to do this. And I said, this is crazy. All we're going to do is stand around and watch this timer, and I don't know what that class looks like. And she just kept after me, and I was like, it's a gadget. Chefs don't use gadgets. All I need is a sheet pan and a knife and some tongs and I can cook anything. And then what did she pull out of the Instant Pot?
A whole cheesecake.
A cheesecake. So I said, hold up, let's go ahead and talk about this. Maybe we should just, chat about it a little bit. So we now teach Instant Pot classes. In addition to teaching Instant Pot classes, every class I think we have put an Instant Pot component into. So, other than the cheesecake, what has been some of the most impressive things you've seen us pull out of this thing?
I mean, she also pulled out like this chocolate truffle cake thing that was basically just chocolate mousse slice.
Yeah.
It was pretty much the greatest thing ever.
Yeah.
You're a huge chocolate.
That was pretty amazing. One thing that I'm, the win over factor for me, big time, was risotto. So,
for sure.
I can make risotto, but I find that sometimes so I've got my celery going into the Instant Pot. Again, I'm on saute mode. We're getting our aromatics in. We've got a couple of ribs of celery. Cameron's absolutely perfect knife skills on this bell.
I'm not doing it the bougie way.
You are not. Risotto, I find sometimes when I get impatient with risotto and I'm just trying to make it happen as I'm standing at the stove and I have a billion other things going on, you know what happens when you push through it, it gets gummy.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
And that is just very, very unpleasant. There's not much you can do to fix it at that point. So the Instant Pot makes absolute perfect risotto. So then I took that a step further, and so you're very familiar with all the culinary terms that I invented that,
Zhuzh being the top priority.
Right, and we still don't know how to spell it. I was gonna ask a friend of mine who's a linguist how to spell it. But the other thing that I made in the Instant Pot and had a lot of fun with the name, and I know you really like the name, I made barley risotto, but we called it Barloto. So, but absolutely delicious. If you want to move away from the arborio white rice and have some whole grain in your life, we're still talking about butter and wine and Parmesan cheese here, but with that barley, perhaps we've moved into the healthy risotto world, if that's, it's kind of an oxymoron.
I'm happy to hear it.
Yeah, but Barloto was, yeah.
If I were going?
Yep. So this red beans and rice, we are making completely vegan because we need this onion, so you can chop that whole
thing?
Yeah. Well, pass over half to me, and I'll cut the other half. So so let's talk about all my great ideas at Red Stick Spice, especially the ones where there are massive amounts of shade and hate about, and then they are not successful. They are smashing, majestic, just
comes out of the oven, angels come above.
But no, not just the dishes, Cameron. Let's talk about my concepts. First off, we've got to get our smoked olive oil in. This is all going to get somewhere here. Smoked olive oil, because it's vegan, no smoked meat, no smoked sausage, no tasso, but we want smokiness in here because that's what makes this delicious. So smoked extra virgin olive oil, a great alternative if you're not using any of those smoked meats, which is such a big part of Louisiana cuisine, especially where I grew up, all those smokehouses in Laplace. Okay, so class concept number one that everyone said, I don't know what's wrong with you, this will never work, was karaoke cooking.
Yeah.
How successful was karaoke cooking?
That was a blast.
Yeah.
And it was really fun. We had a lot of employees at Red Stick Spice come into that. It was a really good time.
Yeah. So, and we had a group of regular customers. They come to a lot of classes. It really took me by surprise because I was like, I wonder if they're taking the class because they're people watchers, because they're interested, or are they taking the class because they're into karaoke? Let's just say they were all there for the karaoke.
Honestly, yeah.
It was fantastic. Really, really great class. Okay, so then next class where I not only got a massive amount of shade from my staff, but also from friends and family who reached out to me, who said, what are you thinking, was our plant-based Cajun Creole class.
I know you got a text message from me about it.
Yeah. So among the many things that were said to me, so just really quickly, I'm listening to all the beeps from the Instant Pot. We are at 4 minutes on pressure cooking on the rice. So it took a little minute for it to get up to pressure, but once it's at pressure, we're at 4 minutes. And then we're gonna listen for the other beep because this one does require that we do a manual release on the steam. All right, so we've got our onion going in. So lots of shade about plant-based Cajun Creole. And did it work?
It did.
Or did it work?
honestly. When you pulled that cake out of the oven.
Right? So this is one of the dishes we do in that class, and we did, we had folks who were curious about Cajun Creole cooking, but we also had a lot of folks who were vegetarian and vegan, and I think it really meant a lot to them that the way I approached it, because this wasn't about putting tofu in jambalaya, because I'm not a monster.
True.
This is about exploring the dishes that are already there, or exploring dishes either that were already there because they were already plant-based from the beginning, or dishes that only needed a minor tweak in order to make them plant-based. And red beans and rice is one of them.
For sure.
Definitely don't have to have that smoked sausage or tasso in there to bring great flavor. Okay, I need this garlic minced. I'm going in with 2 bay leaves. And so these aromatics are doing their thing and sauteing and getting nice and soft. It smells like a smokehouse met a bunch of delicious onions and aromatics. So just gorgeous color in here. They're getting soft, and you can smell that smoked olive oil coming out of there. So the other thing we're going to use to bring that smoky flavor, which we only use a half teaspoon in the whole recipe, which is fascinating to
Goes
me,
a long way.
is that smoked sweet paprika. So I would say, so you do a lot of work on the floor with customers, and we counsel a lot of home cooks looking to get good, solid staples in their kitchen. And that's definitely one that I talk to customers a lot about, is making sure they have a good, solid granulated onion, granulated garlic, but also making sure they have a smoked paprika, a regular paprika, but also a smoked paprika, because it just does something that other spices can't do. Do you use it at
Paprika?
home?
Absolutely.
The smoked paprika? Do you
I
use the
do.
hot or sweet?
I do the hot. If I want paprika, I always kind of want a little
Oh,
bit
it's
of
a,
heat
it's
in
a
there.
little too
Yeah,
spicy
I
for
know, I'm
me.
sorry.
Yeah, I can't do the heat. So, all right, garlic is ready to go in. Let me take a peek at our recipe, because I think at this point we are going to cancel and go to pressure cook. So let's get our beans in. So these are dried beans, they're rinsed, not soaked. Those go in. We've got stock going in.
I can feel the onions because I'm getting emotional. I can feel them coming.
Stock's going in. This is perfect timing because we're about to press the button on the rice. And then we need a tablespoon of red bean seasoning. So our red bean seasoning, totally salt-free. But so cool.
Always needed in red beans and rice, something where you always want to adjust the
Yeah.
for yourself.
So let's go ahead and get a tablespoon in there. I use this also in lentils.
Yum.
Yeah, really, really delicious on lentils. But this blend, the blender that we use for this blend approaches almost all of his blends from either a no salt or very, very low salt place. And so this is all about layering flavor and less about just cayenne or just salt. So this blend is based in bay and filet, which is really interesting to me because the only thing I used filet for growing up was to thicken gumbo, but it's actually a great blending ingredient. All right, I'm going to grab the smoked paprika, and we need about a half teaspoon of that, and you can eyeball that with your teaspoon measure there.
Sure.
So about a half teaspoon. And then we're going to do the salt at the end after it's done cooking. So we are going to get our lid on. We're going to press cancel. We're going to go up to pressure cook. We are going 37 minutes on high. We say start. It's going to take a minute to come up to pressure, 37 minutes, and then we have completely cooked red beans, which is crazy town.
Impressive.
Okay, I'll let you do the honors. Let's press the button on our rice. Get all that steam out of there.
Which one? This one?
That one there.
There we go.
So dramatic.
I
Yay! Okay, so we're going to open that up and we're going to fluff our rice, and we'll have that ready to go for when our red beans are ready.
Sounds delicious.
Okay, we're back. So we're ready to eat. So I'm going to have you chop up some parsley so that we can garnish this. It brightens things up. A lot of times, things that are slow cooked that sort of rich, you know, that parsley can brighten it up. But the other reason I'm doing it is because I'm going to be honest, red beans and rice isn't the prettiest dish in the world. So, you know, I live in the world of, my husband owns a production company and he takes lots of photos of our food. And a lot of times he'll say, oh, I can't take a picture of that. That's not going to look good. And red beans and rice might be one of those. But I think based on the deliciousness, it's gorgeous. So first up, our rice, 4 minutes in the pressure cooker. We thank you for doing the manual release. And it is this interesting golden color from our vegetable stock that gets so dark from the onion skins that we use in the vegetable stock. So I've got some rice going in each dish. And
I love the texture of it. It looks so like not gummy, more like loose.
Yeah, yeah. Now part of that is the popcorn rice. That's just that style of rice, but also the instant cooker. It cooks up nice and separate. So then what I did is I took the red beans were completely cooked, and I took a potato masher and mashed up about 2/3 of them. I grew up eating really creamy red beans and rice, so I mashed them up, and we're going to get those ladled into the bowl next to that rice, and then you're going to do some garnish magic so that that's a beautiful dish. But those are creamy and they taste wonderful. Uh-oh.
I got you.
Thank you. Cameron's always there for me. All right, so we've got those red beans in there. And then clean the rim for me there, and then we are going to taste. So let's get some parsley on these. A little bit of parsley right there. And then let's have a taste. This looks like supper to me. Right?
First thing that stands out is the texture.
Yeah.
I've never seen anyone like mash the beans before to make
Yeah.
them creamy.
Yeah.
It just sort of happens.
Yeah.
They're so good. And second thing that stands out to me is the no meat.
Yeah.
For sure. The smoked olive oil comes through and provides the smokiness.
But you get all that smokiness. Yeah. So, so good. They're a little bit spicy, Cameron.
No, never.
So delicious. This was wonderful. Thank you for doing this with me.
Of course.
You're
Anytime
always,
I get lunch.
you are a trooper. Thank you. All right. Thanks, guys.